And welcome back. We're here with Jim Carter. Hi, Jim.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Welcome back. It's been a while.
It has. Good to be back.
You're busy on cases all over the country.
Everywhere, traveling.
Okay, and today you're going to talk to us about unintended acceleration in some Ford vehicles.
Ford and maybe one or two others that have recently come to the surface.
So
yes.
we remember the famous cases, but for people who don't remember, tell us what an unintended acceleration is.
Unintended acceleration is any time your car takes off and you don't want it to, or when you can't get it to stop. And it's caused by several things. The biggest culprit is the cruise control. And you were talking about Ford vehicles. There have been literally millions of Ford vehicles that are equipped with a Texas Instrument designed cruise control that go out of control.
Well, this goes back as far as, what, the 80s with the Audi 5000?
Yes, and you remember the famous case where the lady was charged with a crime. I believe it was up in Boston when her Audi ran over her child.
Right.
That was a sudden acceleration case. The driver got blamed. And one of the big tragedies here is that people get killed or injured, and the blame is put back on the driver.
Well, there's another recent recall for Lexus vehicles where they want you to take the floor mats out of the car.
That's one of the things that is really interesting. Any object that gets in the way of the accelerator can cause it to be pressed. And an improperly designed floor mat or one that's not anchored, I don't know whether you've noticed in some cars there are buttons that you push the floor mat through. Those are very important buttons, and I would advise anybody not to drive a car with a loose floor mat in it, because as we put our feet down and as we move or stretch or something, if that floor mat goes into the accelerator, it can mash it, and you may not know what's going on down there. Your car just runs away.
You ever been a passenger in someone's car and there was so much stuff rolling around and you just knew something was going to get behind the brake pedal?
Absolutely. I do not tolerate anything loose in the driver's footwell.
So what are car companies trying to do to solve this problem with the cruise control and other mechanical issues that are causing the problem?
Well, there are two or three things. Of course, the recall on the Toyota right now, the Toyota line, including the Lexus, is a redesigned floor mat. I have heard from engineers that I've discussed this with that that's really not the fix, but that's what they're going to do right now, and they're going to see. The government tracks incidents and has a computer database, and they have an Office of Defects Investigation which says there are too many of these types of accidents happening. Let's ask this car company to send us some information. Well, in the case of Ford, there have been literally millions, primarily of Ford trucks, and a truck means anything from an Explorer through a van to a pickup truck that have defective ignition switches and cruise control systems, and they've been recalled, and in a lot of cases they just put a fused wire across the brake fluid reservoir, and that's been the fix. But the problem is that if the cruise control gets shorted out, it can go to what engineers call wide open throttle. And if you're running along at wide open throttle, first of all, you're in an emergency, and people react to that emergency by continuing to press the thing that's supposed to cause the car to stop, and that's the brake. Well, the brake may slow it down some, but it will not stop it against a wide open throttle,
right?
Particularly if you're going down the road.
I mean, your adrenaline's rushing. Most people don't think to just reach up and turn the car off.
Oh yeah, I've got a case right now where a gentleman was in a Ford Econoline van, and he was getting off Interstate 16, starting up a ramp to a busy intersection, and he pushed the brake to disengage the cruise control. The thing wouldn't stop. He went all the way up through the intersection, down the other side, the on-ramp to the other side, hit a tree, and it was a tragic thing because his 11-year-old granddaughter was riding in the right front seat and killed her instantly. And the short caused a fire in the steering wheel area, and the driver is badly burned. So.
And we've talked about those vans before where did it roll as well?
No, it didn't. They went down the hill and hit off the pavement, down an embankment, you know, one of the approach embankments, and hit a huge tree.
Well, are the car companies getting better about recalling cars back instead of like from the Pinto days when they sort of didn't acknowledge there were problems?
They resist a recall. A recall is very expensive, and to fix something in a garage as opposed to putting it on the assembly line is far more costly. And these recalls are hugely expensive, and they do resist, and they only If the government asks for something, they construe it as narrowly as possible and give them the bare minimum. I'll give you an example. I know of a 1997 Ford van, that's a model, that the recall didn't come out until the first of this year.
Wow, 12 years
And it
later.
has the same system that they've been recalling. So they just restricted. They said, give us all the stuff on this model. That's all they give them, instead of giving them everything on this particular cruise control.
Is this an actuarial thing where it's cheaper to pay people off than to recall all the vehicles built?
It's exactly what it is. It's a cost benefit to the car companies, and that's very, very sad.
So if they make 30 million things, it's $100 a car.
Right.
Versus, that's what?
Plus, paying 20 claims a year versus the cost of redoing the cruise control.
How do they defend themselves when it's so obvious that they know what's going on? And do you find paperwork that proves they know what was going on?
Oh yes, the paperwork is out there. You have to fight to get it, but it is there.
Is this the time when they send you like 400 boxes to find the one page you want?
That's exactly right. Or they'll form a task force on this issue, and they won't give you the task force documents until you just learn that they're there and force them to produce it. But their biggest defense is the driver. The driver didn't do this, the driver didn't do that. Primarily, there's a thing called pedal misapplication. If you were to accidentally put your foot on the accelerator and you thought that was a brake, you'd keep mashing the accelerator. And the more you mash the accelerator, the faster you're going to be going, and you continue mashing the accelerator. And it's called pedal misapplication. So the first defense is to say that the driver misapplied the pedal. In other words, they mashed the gas.
Yeah, I tried that for a speeding ticket defense. It didn't work.
Well, this issue has been around, as you said, since at least 20 years or more. And Ford has had their share of cruise control. Chrysler's had their share. You remember the Shriners Parade? I mean, the St. Patrick's Parade?
Right.
The guy had just washed his car, as I understand it. Well, that particular cruise control was short out on water. They short out after rain. They short out after you wash your car. We had a case where a lady washed her car, and it was idling, and she was getting out to check something, and the car roared off backwards with her, and that was a cruise control issue.
Okay, we've got about 30 seconds left. If you've feel that your car's doing this, what should you do first?
Stop the engine. Cut it off. Don't go all the way to lock. You can't do that anyway unless it's in park. But go to lock and be aware of two things. You're going to lose your power brakes and you're going to lose your power steering. So be prepared to steer hard and brake harder.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jim. If you have a problem with your car and you'd like some advice from Jim Carter, you can give him a call through our website. We'll be back with Doug Andrews talking about Pearl Harbor 68 years later. Stay tuned.